What's up guys? So I'm back with a pretty unusual video. Today we're going to be talking about the carnivore diet, more specifically what it is and why I'm doing it. I'm going to try to make this a series because I'm doing the diet for at least 30 days, potentially up to 66 for Gymshark 66. I haven't decided yet. And I'm on day 8 right now. So essentially I'm just going to be documenting my process throughout the whole thing. And yeah, as a little disclaimer, I'm not necessarily recommending this diet to anyone. It's more so just for my personal experimentation. All right, so first up is what is the carnivore diet? And as you can probably guess, it's an animal-based diet. And I have a infographic that I pulled up here from an Instagrammer and YouTuber called Health Coach Kait. If you want to check her out, I'll put her Instagram right here. And she does a very good job explaining the 3 variations of carnivore. So the first one we have is standard carnivore. This is what I'm doing. And you have all types of meat and fish, eggs and dairy, and then spices, salt, pepper, and then sometimes coffee. So the way I'm doing standard is I'm doing tons of beef, a little bit of fish, lots of eggs, and then I cook my stuff in either grass-fed butter or duck fat. And then I do a little bit of spices and a little bit of salt and pepper. And when I started this 8 days ago, I also cut out all caffeine as well, so I'm not doing coffee. Now, number 2, we have strict carnivore. That is going to be beef, water, and salt. That's it. And if you saw the Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson podcast, that's the one that Jordan does. And then the third one, you have the keto carnivore. Okay, so you have mainly animal foods, some plant foods, and then the plant foods that you do have are keto approved. So what I've noticed is a lot of people that already do keto, they end up experimenting with carnivore, and then they start reintroducing some plants that they know their body responds well to. Or I've also heard of people kind of going back and forth between keto and carnivore. So yeah, those are the 3 variations. I'm doing standard and I'm currently 8 days in and honestly feeling pretty good. One thing that I did want to mention is when it comes to eating meat, you want to lean more towards ruminant mammals. And I just looked up the exact definition so I could give it to you guys. Ruminants are mammals that are able to acquire nutrients from plant-based foods by fermenting it in a specialized stomach prior to digestion. And they comprise of cattle, sheep, antelopes, deer, bison, etc. So my interpretation is they're basically big mammals that graze and are able to, I guess, process plant food better and store those nutrients better in their body. Now, one thing that I notice is the people that tend to gravitate towards carnivore are people that have issues like autoimmune diseases, gut health problems, obesity, diabetes, maybe some form of idiopathic disease. Honestly, the list is pretty endless if you look into it. And what initially sparked my interest was a lot of these people, you read their stories and they're having complete or almost complete resolution of their symptoms, which is pretty incredible. So that leads me to my first reason for trying it out, which is more so just curiosity. And I guess I just love experimenting as well. So that's reason number 1. All right, so reason number 2 here, I'm gonna explain my logic behind all of this. So one thing is I feel like nutrition overall has just become almost overcomplicated, where we have to get, a certain amount of fruits a day, a certain amount of vegetables a day. We have to hit our RDAs for our micronutrition. And it just kind of seems like a lot. Whereas where my mind's at is we should be able to eat a certain way to not only survive, but thrive, and it just to be effortless. We don't have to think about it, we can just eat and move on with our day. So that's part of the logic behind it. All right, so another part of the logic is the idea that everything an animal needs to survive and thrive is found in another animal. And that brings us to the idea of nose to tail carnivore, which is a concept that Paul Saladino is a huge fan of. And essentially what that means is you're not wasting any of the animal. You're not just eating the meat, but you're eating the liver, the spleen. You're basically eating the animal from nose to tail. Now, I'm personally not there yet. I'm only 8 days in, but I did buy these grass-fed beef organs. So I take that every day, and I may implement beef liver as well, just because it's so dense with micros. I needed a little steak break, so I figured I'd show you guys what I made. So here we have a USDA choice ribeye from Costco. Cooked pretty damn well if you ask me. And then I also am making a tri-tip roast, 6 pounds of it actually, also from Costco. Getting slow cooked right now. And one thing about when you're picking meats is you do want to pick the fattier sources. So ribeye is a pretty fatty steak, so that's a solid option. All right, so the last part of my logic, and again, this is just how I think, you don't have to agree with me here, but if I were to pick you up and place you in the wild, right, and you had to find your own food, it's not like you're gonna go looking for, you know, like a leaf, for example, or find some random broccoli, or dig randomly and find a tuber. You know, at best, you're gonna find some berries or some fruit, or maybe some fungus. But then it's like, are you gonna risk it and potentially eat a poisonous berry or poisonous fungus and die? You know, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. What I think would happen is after 1 to 2 days of not eating, your instincts are gonna kick in and you're gonna find a way to catch a fish or maybe a small animal, which will arguably give you complete macro and micronutrition. And on top of that, over time, you're gonna become fat adapted, which I think is probably optimal for survival. Now, if you follow me on Instagram, I actually experimented with keto probably 3 years ago now. And what I found is when you do become fat adapted, you don't ever really think about food. You know, I easily could have gone 8 to 10 plus hours probably without eating, versus when you're glucose or carb dependent, at least me, I'm typically thinking about food every like 3 to 4 hours. You know, it's constantly on my mind and I need that short-term energy source. But when you transition your body to fats and you're relying on more of a longer-term energy source, I think that's best for survival, because you can easily, like I said, go 8 to 10 plus hours without food and still run optimally. You know, you have mental clarity, you have high energy, and you just feel good overall. So just being carb dependent in the wild in a survival, environment just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. All right, reason number 3 why I'm experimenting with carnivore is pretty simple. I just mentioned it. I've done keto before. I did it about 3 years ago. I actually did blood work before and after. It's on my Instagram if you want to check it out, but you have to scroll down pretty far. And when I did keto and I became fat adapted, I have actually never felt healthier in my entire life. My energy levels were always high, consistent throughout the day. I slept better. I would say my brain just overall just operated at a higher capacity. And so now I learned about carnivore, and a lot of people actually report feeling better on carnivore than they do on keto. So that's reason number 3. So the 4th and final reason that I'm doing carnivore has more so to do with my health and some like underlying issues that I've had. I would say that a lot of the people that move towards the extremes in dieting, more so I would say with high fat diets like paleo, keto, and carnivore, things like that, are people that have these issues that either doctors don't know how to resolve, or I would say a lot of the time doctors throw medication at in hopes to resolve it, or maybe they're just issues that they've just had their whole lives and they're almost desperately looking for something that can fix those issues. So then you have all these people that are doing the high fat diets, you know, keto, carnivore, things like that, and seeing a lot of results. So then you have people experimenting and trying them out for themselves. So I would say I'm somewhat in that boat. I've dealt with things like really bad brain fog, really bad and poor sleep, pretty low energy. Like I've been really dependent on caffeine for like the last like 8 to 10 years, I'd say. What else? I actually wrote some down. Let's see here. Pretty low lack of motivation, I would say. Bad social anxiety. I don't know if I said that one. And there's definitely some others too. And like I said, I've done blood work because I did keto, and didn't really find anything there. So yeah, like I said, this is more so like for personal experimentation to see if any of those issues get better. So yeah, that's the 4th and final reason for doing carnivore. What else? So I'm going to talk about my experience a little bit so far. So I would say the first maybe 3 to 4 days, like I said before, I'm on day 8. The first 3 to 4 days, I had very low energy. I basically didn't even go to the gym. I was also coming out of a sickness. And I cut out carb and caffeine completely. And I was very low energy, didn't go to the gym. My sleep wasn't that good. My digestion obviously wasn't that good. And overall just felt cloudy and just not that good. And then these past couple days is when my digestion started to get a lot better. My sleep is incredible now, but I definitely account a lot of that to no caffeine. What else? My energy levels already, I don't think I'm fully fat adapted yet, but my energy levels are way higher. Like I can go through a full like intense workout at the gym right now and not like crash afterwards, which is awesome and kind of new to me. So yeah, that's my experience so far. Another thing that I think I'll like a lot about carnivore versus keto is because on keto, if you know anything about keto, you actually almost have to limit your protein intake so that you're able to enter into ketosis. Because when you get excess protein, you're actually able to convert some of that into glucose via gluconeogenesis and actually hold yourself back from entering into ketosis, right? So you have to like kind of control the numbers a little bit. But something with carnivore is you're not tracking anything at all. You're just eating when you're hungry. You're getting fatty pieces of meat. And I guess organs if you want to do that. But you're eating definitely excess protein. So what's cool is a lot of that excess protein can actually be turned into glucose. So I'm expecting that my performance in the gym will actually get better, if anything. And I won't feel depleted at all. So that's my prediction, and I'm excited to check it out and get to that point. But yeah, that is the conclusion of my first video of the series. I will say, to kind of finish it off here, if you guys are planning on learning about this by yourself, obviously I'm not a, what's the word? I'm not the best person to learn from when it comes to this stuff. So I will say, if you want to look into it yourself, the three people that I've kind of learned from is one, Shawn Baker. He has his own diet, or his own book that just came out called the Carnivore Diet. It's kind of ripped up from Atlas, but I'm reading this now, it's really good. Number two is Paul Saladino. He has a book coming out this month called, I think, The Carnivore Code. I pre-ordered it. He also has a podcast and a YouTube channel. They all have YouTube channels if you want to check them out. And then the third one is an Instagrammer on YouTube called, hold on. I think I said it earlier in the video. Her name is Health Coach Kait, and I'll put all three of their information in the description box if you want to check them out. All three of them put out really good info. So yeah, that's going to conclude the first video. I hope you guys liked it. I know it's a little bit different, and I'll see you guys in the next one.